There we go. And that starts off the official kickoff of another episode of the ADHD Express podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm your host, Brian Carlson, freshly back from LS Fest. Oh, that was so much fun. We're going to put a whole bunch of really fun content out about LS Fest and how they were inviting and welcoming to the ADHD Express podcast. As always, I've got Joe with us today on mic.
Hey, yo.
We are missing Daniel. He had a wonderful event with his little boy that he got to go to, and so we're happy that he missed to be with his kid. And then we have another very special guest, a friend of mine, Dalton Forsyth. Dalton, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys, Dalton, and we've talked about this on a lot of my podcasts. Dalton was in my BNI group, and I know I talk a lot about BNI and I bring a lot of people in, but that's because we had the best BNI chapter.
Yes.
And so I've got these wonderful people. They're all top notch, and so we just want them to come in. Dalton, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Man, where do I start?
The sex change?
What's that?
The sex change?
I told you that in
Just
secret.
kidding.
It's a confidence.
I know, right?
Man, yeah. Grew up in Texas. That's where I finished high school. I was right in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I used to do sales there.
Where were you at?
I was up in the surrounding upper little towns that they have.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
what
yeah.
they call them. It's over those hills.
Sure. Yeah. So I was like in Grapevine, which is right where the airport is. If you ever flew into Dallas, that's actually Grapevine.
Okay.
We were there because my old man was a mechanic for American Airlines. And
Oh,
so
right.
We
Okay.
were like right there.
Yep, you're right there. Got to fly for free.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
And you know what? If you're going to fly for free with American, Dallas was the place to do it because that's a huge hub, central in the country. We could go all over the place.
That's way cool.
It was great. Yeah. So, I mean, we got to travel a lot as a result, but grew up playing sports. My old man played football at BYU. So, like, football specifically was a big part of my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somehow, you can never tell on a camera, but like I'm a pretty big dude.
Yeah, so and even for people who are just listening to this, Dalton is 2 of me.
That's probably about right.
Pretty
for
damn
me,
close to
honestly.
accurate.
Yeah. Somehow I've ended up being the smallest person in my family.
That dude, when you told me that, it kind of blew. Now again, you guys,
Yeah.
I'm not big by any. I'm average. I'm 5'9". I'm 170 pounds. So like, I'm not tiny, but I'm also not a big guy.
Yeah.
And like, my head barely touches your shoulders, bro.
Like, I mean, I'm 6'4". I'm probably 310 right now, but I've always been in that ballpark.
Yeah.
And I mean, both of my brothers now, like my middle brother's probably 6'7", 6'8".
Jeez.
Big dude. And then my youngest brother's probably 6'5", big dude too. So
Yep.
family of big boys.
Yeah.
Right. And so sports was obviously a big part of that growing up, but kind of been around a few different places since then. Like football brought me to Utah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Utah State, right?
Yeah.
We have our little bullhead. It's not really a bull.
Yeah. I love it.
Ooh,
I was going to say,
braggy.
if it was all blue, it'd look a little more like a bull, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? But
Here, give us just a second. We'll
All
fix
right.
that right now. But anyways,
Yeah.
continue on.
get that fixed for me, please. No. I actually came to Utah to Snow College.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So that,
Snow.
yeah. So that's how I ended up here. It was, I mean, the football world in college, especially, it ends up being kind of small. And my dad had played at BYU. I had gone to a few camps at BYU, and I had met a guy there. His name was Coach Gerber. Shout out Coach Gerber, wherever you are.
Hey, Coach
Love
Gerber.
that guy. So good. Met him at BYU, and then when I reconnected with him, he was the offensive line coach at Snow.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
And,
Did you play on the offensive line?
yeah, I did. And, we're going to talk about, we'll probably talk about ADD or whatever a little bit.
Naturally.
I did okay in high school in terms of my grades and studies. Like I never had any big issues, but I found a really easy way through high school, and I set myself up to graduate early because I just did not enjoy high school.
Yeah, sure.
Just wasn't my thing. And so played my senior year. I went to my first semester of my senior year because I wanted to play football, and then I was done.
Oh, wow.
I had set myself up to be done after that. And I just kind of sat around in my house, man.
Did you really?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I was good enough to play college football, obviously, but I had a couple of offers. I had a lot of them that didn't line up because my plan at the time was go on a church mission. And those aren't super compatible at a lot of schools.
Right.
Coach from Snow called me. So Coach Gerber called me. They said, hey, do you want to come up? I had never even heard of Snow. And pretty much we looked on their website, and Snow wins like every football game every year.
Do they really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I don't even know when the last time they had a bad season was. I'm sure they have, but I mean, 10 wins almost every single year.
Wow.
They've played in the national championship a handful of times because JUCO has playoffs. They had it previously. They have playoffs now. A lot of really good stuff coming out of there. And I told him I had graduated early and that I was just kind of sitting around. And he was like, well, we're about to start spring. Do you want to just come up and like, you can work out, you can play spring ball.
Yeah.
And I was like, why not? Literally just sent it. Like I told them yes. Well, I don't know, maybe a week before school started, and had to figure out some of the details. My family didn't have a ton of money. And so I actually had my bishop at the time just offer to pay for my housing because the snow paid for my tuition. And I took off, man. It was like a week, packed up my crap. My parents came up with me, drove me down to Ephraim. That was the first time I'd ever been there.
Yeah.
Dropped me off. And it was crazy too, because I grew up in Texas. I show up, I have like one hoodie and you got to think like it's winter in Texas, but that means it's winter in Utah when I get here. And coach tells me, all right, you got to be on field tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. And I don't think about it. I'm tired. We just got here, all this stuff. I'm like, fine. I show up and I'm in like my Nikes that are like mesh Nikes, shorts, and like a hoodie. And there's like 2 feet of snow on the field. And they just ran us to death. They had some team issues arise and they just ran us to death. But anyways, yeah, that was like my welcome to Utah. It was pretty wild.
So it's funny. So because I do the home inspection still, right? And so I meet people who are moving here, and they don't know. Like it's the people from the warm places. I'm like, okay, listen, we got to have a serious conversation about Utah weather, yo. Yeah. Like you are not prepared. I can promise you that. Oh no, we went. No. You are not prepared.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different here, man. Like the number one thing I try to tell people when they move here, the most important thing when you come from someplace warm and you move to Utah, you have to find something fun to do outside in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will be miserable.
Yeah.
You have to.
Every single time.
Yep.
100%. Like, if you're not having fun in the winter in the snow and frolicking just a touch, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, you're missing it. Yeah.
Well, it's tough otherwise.
It's tough otherwise. Yeah,
it's
dude.
tough. You just feel like you're stuck in the house.
I can't even imagine that. You're probably like, and then misery, and then you walk into a problem, and they're like, yeah, this is like, well, and again, that kind of, when you punish everybody, then it kind of builds some self-governance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When everybody gets busted because 1 or 2 guys are being jackasses, then we start govern ourselves. Like we've kind of done that a little bit as parents. Like I'll kind of punish all 3 kids if one of them's acting out, because then the other ones are like, hey, knock that shit off, stuff off. Sorry, Joe. We try not to swear on this podcast, but like it's hard.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's hard.
But yeah. And I think with a football team, you kind of have to run it that way.
Oh, dude,
like,
for sure.
You probably have.
These are big, aggressive dudes who literally like we're trying to make sure they're aggressive, right? Like soft, not aggressive dudes don't make it in football. Like,
and it's just a lot. The 110 guys on a team usually, probably.
Yeah.
From all over the place, different backgrounds, living in whatever random city. And so we talked about snow. It's like Ephraim, right?
Ephraim,
yeah,
Utah.
Kids from Chicago that are in Ephraim now.
Oh, dude, I can't even imagine. Those dudes are probably losing their minds.
Crazy, yeah. Little bit different, but a little bit of pressure to keep everyone moving in the right direction and make better choices is not a bad thing in those situations.
No, not at all.
Isn't Snow also known sort of as a party college? Isn't it one of the partiers?
It definitely is. I don't know about these days. In the last decade or so, they've put a lot of money into that place. It has great facilities. They have a lot more programs now. I actually think Snow has a couple of 4-year programs.
Oh, okay. So, it used to only be a 2-year school.
Yeah. I think it mostly still is, but I think there is some 4-year programs now.
Interesting.
Yeah, my buddy was to become an EMT.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know why he did that, because he could have done that here, too.
I don't know if I call him fiance yet, but she just moved down there to go to school.
Nope. Say no more. Say no more.
We got it.
We got it. Yeah. Yeah, we got it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. We all have people that have done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
shout out, sweet baby Jake.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, I loved snow. It really was great. Short story is like I went there for a year, went on a mission. I went to Spain. I was in the Madrid mission. I really loved Spain, actually.
Yeah, Spain's beautiful.
Awesome.
How's the Castellano?
Man, it was great. It's funny too coming back here because it's like
you learned a different kind of Spanish, huh?
Yeah, and they're so proud of their Spanish, right? It's like the pure traditional.
Is that what they call Castellano? Or is Mexico what they speak Castellano?
No, so they call it Castellano because there's part of Spain that's like Castilla-La Mancha, or there's a few different places like that, but it's like Castellano from like Castilla. Right, that's
Gotcha.
like supposedly where it comes from. So that's like the Spanish thing, right?
It's like, hola, ¿cómo está?
They've got their little theta they use, but that's like they're so proud of it. It's like the pure Spanish. But coming back here, everybody makes fun of you. You sound like a lispy little turd, and it's a little different. But
that's
yeah,
funny.
At least it's not Portuguese sometimes.
That's right. But
That's so funny.
That was great. I loved Spain. It reminds me a lot of Hawaii in a lot of ways, which
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because your family's from Hawaii.
Yeah.
I don't think you mentioned that yet.
No, so yeah, that's kind of an important detail for me. But my dad's Hawaiian. I'm Hawaiian. That's like a big part of my growing up is spending time out there with my family and whatnot. But Spain kind of reminded me a lot of that, just kind of a complete change of life. Right, like or pace of life and lifestyle, and just kind of what people put value in. And like, I think here and even in growing my business, like you have to put an emphasis on like hustle and focus and professionalism and like a certain set of things, right?
Yeah.
And then when you go back to Hawaii, like a lot of people's frustration with Hawaii is island time.
Nobody wants to work. Yeah.
Right? Literally island time. Like,
Dude, when I went back there, I was talking to all the different people because it was so beautiful.
Yep.
And talking to all these guys, they're all like, "Oh, bro, if you're a hustler, come here. You'll make so much money because no one else wants to work. All you got to do is show up, and you're successful here."
Yeah,
it's like you just start a business and be open.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it just I really think it just comes from like a different set of concerns around life. Like when you talk to a lot of Hawaiians, I think it's almost ironic to them because they're the ones that like when you think about being Hawaiian traditionally in Hawaii, it was like subsistence living, and not like you're poor, dirt poor or anything like that, but it's like you live off the land, you grow your taro, you fish every day, you get fresh water from the mountains, like you live a pretty full life, and you get to spend time with your family and be outdoors. And a lot of them just can't wrap their mind around, why would I go to work and then take the money to pay to do that stuff anyways? Like I have to go and work every day to come back and buy fish and buy land and buy stuff, like make it make sense. And so I kind of get it.
Right. Dude, and we were talking about that beforehand. We were talking about that before we even started the podcast about all this stuff. Like my wife and I are finding ourselves like our business was doing great. We built all these things in this house and these rental investments and assets. And dude, it is a stressful headache and a pain in the butt. I am so tired of managing all this crap. Like the stress of coming with all that success and finance stuff is, I don't know that it's the right way, man. Yeah. Like the happiest people you meet are usually the people with the least amount of stuff.
Yep.
Like the Polynesians that are all living multi-generations in one house, 10 people sleeping in a room, but they're happy.
Yep.
They are happy.
Yep. And it's just different, right?
We're not happy in America. We're all bitter and ornery and pissy.
On opioids and
what's that?
Huh?
What's that?
I said on opioids and
on opioids. And then we don't know what a boy and a girl is, and we're like, I mean, it goes so deep, right? Like this is an overprivileged people. Like this is not good. We're not in a good first world problems, right? Time. Like you got nothing else to worry about, so you worry about, well, I think I'm a different gender. Wait, there's more than two?
Well, and that's, I feel like that's a whole nother conversation, but I think we have such a high standard of living in the States, and especially in Utah where we are. It's like we're so disconnected from the reality of like fighting to survive
Big time.
Because like we're like 100 steps away from dying.
Yeah.
Right? It could be something crazy, but it's like I could think of 1,001 ways I could get food today and tomorrow and everywhere else.
Not only that, but like, the system right now is it won't let you die.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those things. Actually, my son and I have this conversation. You remember this term, and again, this is probably for some of us who are a little bit older, of always respect your elders. That's because a long time ago, that used to mean something.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't. Now you get people who are old, who are dumb as shit. They never did anything with their life. They never invested, prepared, or anything. The system just lets them perpetuate. Like that person did nothing to earn your respect. That person has not lived this life and gained all the wisdom that an old person in the olden days needed, right?
Yeah.
And so like it's kind of like the respect your elders is kind of gone.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of the elders are not,
not worthy of respect.
Not worthy of respect anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Something I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say it was 30% of the population has an IQ under.
Oh yeah, under 80. Yeah,
80.
they're basic. They're like, you can't train them to do stuff. Those people are. Yeah, we were talking about that last time, huh?
That's an insane number,
dude.
If you actually think about the population of the world.
30%. And that's how, like, when people are like, how is all this woke ideology bullshit going? Well, the woke ideology is really easy for dumb people to process. Mm-hmm. Like, you look at Idiocracy, that movie. Do you remember that? Have you never seen that one? Bro, I'm sorry to take you out of your comfort zone. And like, again, we try to like not talk about things that our guests don't know. We don't want people to look dumb, but like that is the dumbest movie on earth. And I promise you will lose IQ points for watching it. However, it is also extremely relevant right now because of the political climate of our world. Like you watch that movie Idiocracy and like, you're going to watch it and it's so stupid. But then you're like, literally they're making fun of the dumbness that happens in politics. And yet we are watching that unfold in real life before our very eyes, and it's real.
Yep.
Like it was just Idiocracy. So you remember the shoes, the Crocs?
Yeah.
So Crocs came out. They invented Crocs for the movie Idiocracy because basically what they're showing is the dumbing down of society to where in 50, 70 years, like, so again, and they show a clip, right? And they show the really intelligent, highly educated, liberal folks. Well, we're not going to have a kid yet because we want to, we just need to finish this and make sure our student loans are paid for and we're going to do this and da-da-da-da-da. And it just shows them and they're just not having kids because, well, we want to make sure everything is ready. And then it shows the dumbass hillbilly who just won the football game and he knocked up 5 dumb chicks that night. And then it shows the genes going on and these really brilliant people never had kids and then they became bitter and now he's gay and she's a lesbian. So those brilliant people are not copulating and having children, and yet the dumb shits are out there humping like crazy and they're having 30 and 40 kids. And so it just shows that over time the population just gets dumber and dumber and we're watching it happen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude, like that movie it's one of those ones I always thought it was funny and now it's like terrifying. Yeah. Because I could see it. I could watch it unfold when I watch the news and you watch these arguments with these college kids and you're like, really?
Crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny because they talk about how, well, college makes you smart. No, it doesn't, man. There's really dumb. Crazy. It shows you how to follow your steps. Like, again, there's all kinds of people out there with college degrees who are.
The only thing that they learn is whatever they're taught by their teacher, and whatever their teacher's perspective of the world is going to almost always influence the rate that they learn.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy, man. I was talking about this morning. A friend of mine, his wife works at the university, and they were graduation's next week, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, dang, man, bunch of kids who are going to graduate with student debt and go get a job at Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart. Because they fed into that narrative.
Yeah. And so another important detail about me is like professionally, I'm a financial advisor.
Oh, yeah. We never even hit that, did we?
Yeah. No, We're all over the place.
That's why it's ADHD Express.
Yeah, another detail of me, financial advisor. So I deal with a lot of people. I deal with their money and help them do all that stuff. But I see that a lot, right? I think Utah is a little bit better because Utah, relative to the rest of the country, has pretty affordable education.
Oh, okay. Yeah, our
relatively speaking,
compared to yeah.
You think of Snow's a good example. You can get a 2-year degree. It's really cheap. BYU is cheap.
I didn't know that. I thought BYU was wicked expensive.
It's cheap.
So, because you have used the one that's expensive in Utah, right?
In Utah, yeah. But, me growing up in Dallas, like you look around Dallas, you think of like SMU, Southern Methodist University, Texas Christian University. I don't know what they're at, but I mean, those are schools where you could easily burn up 30, 40, 50K a semester.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. Schools in other states, especially some of those private schools, I mean, you'll drop hundreds to get through them. And I'm not talking about, you're not going to be a doctor, right? You're talking about your bachelor's degree.
What?
And
I don't understand that. So, like, and you know what's funny as we talk about this stuff, and again, I definitely am not the guy to tell you what is the right path to go. I feel like everybody needs to make their own, but like, I compare, and so I have a son who just recently graduated from a trade college, which was a good thing for him, I feel like. But his best friend's parents hammer on their kids about going to college. You're never going to amount to anything if you don't go to college. And I'm like, his parents both have college educations. I make more money than they're combined, and I don't have a college education. Like, and again, I realize I'm a little different. I've had somebody tell me, well, yeah, but you're also, have an IQ over 180 and but I'm also mentally disabled with like severely ADHD. So like, but it's like, I just saying like, I don't know that is the right and like I'm in the same room while they're telling their kids, hey, you're not going to be anything. And I'm like, hey, screw you. Like, first of all, like you're telling these kids they're not going to be anything without a college degree. Like that means that everybody who didn't go to college is not worth anything. Like, again, I am more successful than you financially and in just my relationships. And so it's kind of one of those things, like it's not the right place for everybody and quit forcing them into it.
And to me, I think it's becoming less and less appealing. And that's just my general consensus for younger people.
When I worked at Bed Bath & Beyond.
The Christian University of Michigan?
No.
Let's hear this one.
Yeah.
So the Christian University of Michigan sold merch, right? Every college sells merch.
Sure.
Right? But the guy that designed the merch only put the initials on the sweatshirts and the t-shirts, and everyone's obsessed with them, and everyone wants to get them, because what does the Christian University of Michigan spell out?
CUM.
Unbelievable. That sound like something to come out of a university, literally.
Yeah.
A Christian university.
Oh, good Lord. That's hysterical.
Everyone covets those shirts because they stopped selling them. I don't know whether they just fired the guy.
Rebrand.
It's like, why, man? If it's selling, I mean.
That's fair.
Yeah. Dang.
I don't know. College seems wild to me because I think if you look 50 years ago, it was a lot more appetizing when your trajectory through life was probably like, go get your college education. You were going to get a job, some specific job.
Yeah.
And that company probably cared enough about you and your family that that's where you were going to be. Right. Like even my dad, his first real job was American Airlines, and that's where he retired.
I know, it's crazy. Nobody does that anymore.
No. And then you think about millennials and younger, and it's like, millennials are going to switch jobs 7 or 10 times at least. Right. And for a lot of them right now, you have to switch jobs because companies won't give you pay raises internally, but if they hire a new person that's literally at the same level as you in the company, they have to hire at much higher rates. So you might be making 100. They hire a new guy that's getting 150.
Yep.
You tell your boss, hey, why are they getting 150? I want a pay raise. They tell you no, so you jump ship too.
Yeah. Well, that's
ridiculous.
I've been having
turnover you'll get.
I've been having to have this conversation with my son, and it's unfortunate because he really likes his boss. But I'm like, Bud, you're only going to get a 3 to 5% raise. But if you jump ship, you're getting a minimum of 20%.
Crazy.
Like, I mean, and right now, like, I think that's all these employers are like, well, I can't keep anybody, and like, it's you got to make it worth their while.
Yeah, you have piss poor hiring practices and retention policies,
dude. And some of that, but even some of the like, we lost Destry. You haven't heard this. He's making $28 an hour less than he made working for me. And now they're like, they can't make it. They're like struggling hard. Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, who quits? I mean, like you cut your salary almost in half. He made almost $80,000 working for me last year with a company car and uniforms and like everything. And I'm just like,
it's crazy. Yeah.
In Cache Valley. So for those of that, that's a pretty decent living, Like even with our housing costs,
average.
Way higher than average. Yeah. And that kid didn't have a college education. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I see now, though, right? People come out of school, they don't have a way to get a real job, or, I mean, if we're being honest, there's a lot of degrees that really don't hold a ton of value.
Tons. So was going to segue. I spent like 5 years in corporate America. I worked for Bed Bath & Beyond. I traveled around and like remodeled fixture stores, and retail management is a really rough place to go for. And so when I got done traveling around, I was like, hey, I need a permanent spot. So they made me a manager at one of the stores, and like almost every other manager had a college education. And yet there we all were doing the same job. And it's just like, why did you bother getting the degree and going into the debt? Like, I don't understand.
It's very true.
To go work at a retail management facility where you don't need a college education.
Yeah, but they want experience.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't pay for that either. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, like, why would, like, I didn't even, do you know that store managers for Walmart make around $400,000 a year?
Yeah, no.
Dude, they make money. I was just like, why wouldn't you like, again, if I was a young person, right? Like, in fact, one of my kids' friends, his wife is there, and she's like, she goes, I've actually been, because I got the job there in high school, and now she's 20. She's been there for years. She's got awesome benefits. And like, and I'm honestly like looking at it. She's like, yeah, if I stick this out, I'll get this manager position. It's salaried. It's this, it's this. I'm like, yeah, she's there 50 hours a week and it's retail management, but still like if I can get up over $400,000 a year as a store manager, like, dude, go work for Walmart. That's good money, yo. Like I've hit that doing home inspection stuff, but I am dealing with a lot of stress and headache and it's tough, you know?
Yeah. If it's there, like that's the thing. No one wants to stay long enough in order to hit that now because I feel like also a huge thing is the attention span of the people.
The goldfish attention span, you mean, that we've all cultured with the social media?
Absolutely. You can't keep, at least for me, I've never been able to focus and like have a job after I've completed it.
Well, Joe, we have really bad ADHD. That's literally our disability, bro. I'm like, well, that's something we're both contending with. Like, and it is. That's just like the easiest project you can't ever get done. And then like, cause you just can't focus on it. But then literally one day you're like, oh, I'm going to go get this done. And like 5 minutes later, you're like, man, why did I put that off for 5 years?
It's insane.
Yeah, ADHD. Do you have any of that? Is that any of the ADHD that you deal with? Is the procrastination?
Dude, and that's what's tough is the procrastination. You put those things off, but then it's also like your superpower on the flip side because
Correct.
What I'm really good at is, and I actually think part of it was like the mentality garnered from sports, but like I'm really good in crunch time.
Okay.
Oh, crunch time's my favorite time.
Right,
You know?
right. That's when we get shit done. Yeah.
Like something has to get across the finish line. I know, and honestly, a lot of people around me know it will get done. That's just how it is.
Yep.
But the things that are tough for me are those things that are like you have to manage them over like long periods of time or just like tons of nitty gritty details. And like, luckily I've been able to deal with that in my business by like recognizing what I'm good at, which is like, I'm the big picture guy. I'm the crunch time guy. I can bring like the vision to something, but then it's my job to go and find the detail people to put on like our administrative staff.
Have you ever done the 16 personalities test?
Which one is that?
The Myers-Briggs.
Is it the letters one?
Yeah.
I was INTJ.
Okay.
INTJ, really?
Yeah.
I do remember the name of the thing on it.
Oh gosh, I don't.
It's fine. And I don't have my chart here. Yeah.
It's been years.
No, we had a really cool scaling consultant on last week, and that's his whole thing. He really
What's his name?
Jonathan Johnson.
Yeah, he's who I did it with.
Yeah, of course. I think I probably introduced you, didn't I?
No, dude, I can't remember where I met him. I think I met him at a real estate brokerage.
Okay.
A while back. He had a consulting thing with them, and he had me do it too. But yeah, he was the one that introduced me to it.
Sorry, they fixed the thing where if I click off of OBS, I go white.
Oh, do you? They fixed it. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. Software, man. There's so much to learn doing this stuff.
I was just taken aback and surprised. It was a pleasant sensation.
Yeah, if I remember right, I was INTJ, and he said I was pretty close to INTP.
Okay.
Okay. So INTJ is... Oh, commander.
Yep, the commander.
He's commander. Huh. That's what my brother is.
Yeah, Daniel is that too. Yeah, I know Daniel. Actually, you and Daniel would really mesh well. I think.
Yeah,
it's kind of really, and that's happened. Sometimes life happens, and we miss a guy on the podcast, so that's okay.
Another time.
That just gives us another reason to do another one with you, bro.
Let's freaking do it.
And it's going to be after you move back to Hawaii. And I don't think we need to do it remote. I think it needs to be in person.
I was going to say, come to the beach, bro.
It needs to be in person. It needs to be in person.
I'll have a spare bedroom at the house.
Dude, I'm excited.
So
he's...
Let's go.
So you guys, Dalton is at this spot in his life when he's just like, why are we doing this? Why are we paying for the houses, paying for all this stuff? And so Dalton he can work anywhere. So he's gonna jump ship and go back. Now that Utah's as expensive as Hawaii, he's going back to Hawaii.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
Might as well if you got to pay the prices.
It's a couple of things like that. Like number one is just we went back for Christmas, right? My mom My mom was out there for a little bit. Did a church mission, and so we went to visit her, and it was kind of weird for me in a few different ways. Like
is your old man still around?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, that's okay.
So you just said that with the mom thing. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So my dad passed away. God, I don't know, 2017, I think.
Oh shit. Okay.
I just pretend like it doesn't happen.
I'm sorry, dude. That's actually right about when my old man passed away. I guess then. Yeah.
But one of his things is the Forsyths have been in Laie for, I don't know, I think the first one was there in like 1880s is when they moved over there from Maui and different places. And so when you can go to the old Laie cemetery, including my dad, there's 6 generations of Forsyths that are buried right there. So my dad wanted to be taken home to Laie. So
mom's still in Texas.
No, she's in Provo now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we none of us are very good at staying in one place.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
After I moved up to Snow, actually both of my parents moved to Provo. My grandfather passed away, so my mom's dad left her a house in Provo.
Oh, cool.
They, coming out of that like 2008, 2009 stint that was really bad with housing and economy and everything else. My dad, being big Hawaiian dude, also had diabetes. His health took a really sharp downturn right at the same time. So a lot of crap happened right at the same spot, but got that house in Provo, and so that's where they moved. And that's where they lived for, since 2010, essentially. When my dad passed away, took him back to Laie, and then my mom's been in that house since then. And like I said, went on a mission, done her different things. But we went out to Hawaii to visit her, and it was just a little different for me, man. Like taking my kids out there, I just realized like we probably used to go 4, 5, 6 times a year, right?
Oh wow!
Because it was, dude, it's cheap.
Well, because he was American Airlines. It was nothing. Getting there is the bigger. Getting there's you could live on a tent. When we went there, I was amazed at all the people who just pitch a tent in the woods on the beach and like, you can get a temporary gym membership to Planet Fitness. You got a shower. Like, I mean, really, I looked at that and I told my wife, I'm like, why did we rent this house? This is expensive. I have a really nice tent. It's waterproof. Like, it's fine.
Just thinking that through, that sounds like heaven.
I know, like it does.
A tent on the beach.
Dude, honestly, so when we were, because I don't remember where we were at, and we were in Kauai, and we were down at the end of this road, and we kind of had like a private beach section. It was all protected by what do they call it? A reef.
Oh yeah.
And I would go out on the paddleboard every day, and I'd see all the fish, and I'm like, God, if I had a spear gun or something, like I could literally eat fresh fish every day. Like I found a big old school of sea turtles out there and everything, and I'm just like, dude. There was a mango tree. There was pineapples growing. I'm just like, bro, no scurvy for me. I got vitamin C. Like, I could live like that. I'm fairly confident. If my wife ever dies young, like I'm fairly confident I'll be a dude living in a van by a river somewhere. I am fairly confident
that's expensive now.
Dude, it used to be. I know. Now I got to work and save up to live in a van.
You want a nice van? It's like $200,000.
Yeah.
Nuts.
The same for a house.
Hey, I have a 1984 Ford Econoline F-150 van, and it's already been like pimped out like a little whatever from the 80s, and so I have that sitting over my junkyard.
Hey, you got it.
I don't need a lot.
You're set.
Just a lot of parts. Huh? Just a lot of parts.
I know.
Get it running again.
Well, I'll LS swap it.
We can't have anything nice around here.
Speaking of which, I just came back from LS Fest, and that was honestly, I think the most shocking thing to me was the amount of like vintage Fords and Ford Mustangs that all have LS swaps in them. And then when you talk to guys, everybody hates the Coyote motors and nobody likes Ford motors. Everyone's like, well, Ford engineers in failure, and they won't recall it until it's killed 30 or 40 people. And it's just funny. It is kind of a bummer, dude. Like, but yeah.
It's so
LS. There was even 2 Porsches LS swapped.
Have you heard of the meme? Go onto YouTube sometime and try to find a vehicle that has not been
LS swapped. Okay. Valid. Valid. I mean, dude, like I like all the weird stuff. I mean, there's Nissans, there's Datsuns, there's BMWs. Yeah, the LS swapped Prius. There was like a 9-second LS swapped hearse down there that was pulling wheelies.
That's crazy.
What?
Oh
dude, like
gosh.
some of the stuff, and it's just. And honestly, after going to that event, you guys, I got to tell you, and ADHD totally just happened, but like, I need to do road track racing. I watch that stuff and again, even all my videos, I'm just like ear to ear grin the whole time. And I'm like, okay. So I have this really cool 47 Ford, and Lord willing, and all my fans like and subscribe, get us the followers so I can get some sponsors, so I can get some free damn parts, right?
Huge announcement. We are going to be dropping merch here soon.
Yes.
So please.
So once we can get that stuff, I am going to get some sponsors, and we are going to build me a rally truck, an autocross truck out of a 1947 Ford. Yes,
That's
it'll be
awesome.
LS swapped, but yeah.
It's got to be.
It's got it. Well, I mean, if go to LS Fest and then tell me they're not cool. Like that's all I got to say is show up there with me, or come out and we'll watch the videos and you say, "Oh yeah, no, I don't think that's very cool," and then I'll just show you somebody who's a nerd. If you don't think that's cool, you don't know what you're talking about. And again, and I'm not just an LS guy. I think JDMs are cool. I think Ford's cool. I think Hellcats are like Dodge. Like it's all cool. You can't show me something that's not cool. If you have pride in it and you built it, I don't really care what it is. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those dudes who's like, but when it comes to bang for the buck, if you want a performance car, an LS is the best bang for the buck out there, period. There is a 911 Carrera that was LS swapped on the road track. There was a 914 Porsche. That's like the poor man's Porsche with an LS 6, which is an aluminum block, aluminum head motor. It weighs about 100 pounds less than the same equivalent. And that dude, like I showed you the video, that little 914 is it's smaller than a Nissan Z. And like that dude is out there just owning that racetrack. I got a couple of minutes to talk with him, but again, everybody, it's just go, 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 go. And so nobody would really sit and interview with me. They would all talk for a minute, but it was just they're too distracted. Yeah. But like that little car for an auto, like a road track car, he goes out and it's just straight up as a 10-second quarter-mile car. And for those of you who don't know, like 10 second, like, okay, if you're not pulling a 10 second, your car's not fast. But as soon as you hit 10s, like that's fast. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's a pro drag racer. You're like, oh, I got a 10-second door slammer. They're like, dude, that's awesome. And this dude's out there and he's like humble. Oh yeah. He goes, it's a good enough car. He goes, if I could just hook up, and you watch him that 10 seconds, that whole car is just, it's like,
yeah. Make you pucker a little bit.
Yeah. Dude, that was crazy. There's a bunch of guys I follow on YouTube there, like some of these race trucks, like they do some vintage old Fords into like soda trucks, Baja. Dude, one of them freaking rolled, crushed that thing all up. And I'm like, that's the one downside to building a vintage ride is you don't have a body. You know, that's why a lot of guys are going with the off the production vehicles, because then when you trash it, you just order another one. But like the problem with it, but the thing it is like I said, at LS Fest, you see in my footage, like you get tired of seeing late model, you know, Corvettes and Camaros because there's a dime a dozen. And yeah, I know that they're fast and that's still cool. Like there was one Corvette, a C7, that ran a 562 quarter mile at 170 miles an hour. That's fast, you guys. That is going from, for those of you who don't know about quarter mile drag racing, it's going from a dead stop to 1/4 mile in 5.5 seconds.
That's crazy.
So from a dead stop in 5 seconds, you accelerated to 170 miles an hour. Like that is so fast. Like the analogy I like to use is homeboy could use get a $100 bill, put some double-sided sticky tape, and he could tape that to the dashboard. And then he could tell you, okay, if you can grab that during this 5-second run, you can have it. And I promise you're not strong enough to grab it. Your hand will go, oh, and you'll just be stuck trying to reach your hand out until he comes his foot out of the accelerator, and then you'll punch the dashboard.
Oh,
like, because we have a 10-second car sitting right there. That red Mustang is 11-second car, and it accelerates about that hard. Like it's really hard to like lift your arm because it just pins you in the seat so hard. And you take that car is twice as fast as our car.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Once that Mustang's running, I'll give people rides, and I guarantee you, I'll terrify every one of you in that car. Thing is a handful,
fun.
man.
That'd be awesome.
What was that?
It's a phone call. That's okay.
I forgot to mute it on the computer. So we always have this joke, like people come on their phone. I'm like, hey, you want me to show you how to shut that down? So I did that to this one guest, George, one time. And then like 15 minutes later, my fetching phone goes off. And he's like, hey, you want me to show you how to mute that? It was so funny. So funny.
Sorry, buddy.
Yep. And so then Joe, he's awesome. So Joe's our technical guru and expert on all things technical, or at least learning to be an expert. And so he rigged it up to where my phone is synced to my computer so that we can just like manage stuff.
Yeah.
But so then we come into our podcast and I mute my phone, but I forget I got to mute the computer too, because then it rings through my stupid computer. Or smart, I guess it's not a stupid computer. I'm the stupid one.
Yeah, it happens.
It's usually the computer's fault. I know that for sure.
That's right. Yeah, definitely Windows updates. I'm going to Linux. I'm going to Linux.
Going old school.
Yeah. I think is the server Linux?
The server is Linux.
Yeah, server's Linux. That's what's behind you. I don't really have a good spot for it. Yeah.
That's funny.
There's been a lot to set all this up, dude. Like, this is a lot.
I believe it.
I mean, my pegboard was an absolute mess before I started the podcast. And then I was like, we need to do things a little nicer.
Gotta make it look nice.
Gotta make it look a little nicer around here.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now my friends come by and they're all like, man, what happened to your wood shop? They're like, you used to be able to come in here and just spit on the floor. There's a pile of sawdust or something. You just hock a loogie in it and it's fine. And now it's just... Every time I do something, I had to sit here and vacuum and clean. And
Yep.
But it looks immaculate.
Yeah.
We're just going to do a spin around right here with the 360.
Yeah, and that's why we run the 360. So we call it the Tommy cam. So then usually when Tommy makes noises or does whatever and people get a look and see what Tommy's doing, usually it's this.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot more used to us doing the podcast now.
He used to get a little nervous and like... Dude, it's funny to watch him. Like, he'll kind of navigate through the tripods and not hit anything, or he'll navigate through and knock them all over. You just never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, that would be my dog.
Yeah,
got the lab tail. Just knocks everything over, man.
That's so funny.
Going back for just a second, do you guys know about Tesla? Right, his naming system, right?
You mean Nikola Tesla or?
Elon's naming scheme for the Teslas.
No.
Okay, what are the names of the Tesla models?
There's an X.
There's an S and a Plaid.
There's a Plaid. Do you know why he did the Plaid? It was a reference to Spaceballs.
I was just gonna ask that. That's awesome.
That sounds like an Elon move.
That sounds like an Elon move. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that. Yeah, and it's funny because that's one of those things. Like I've been, we're going to Plaid, and very few people catch that one.
That's funny.
I watched him do an interview, right? So he has the X. He has the 3.
So is the X like the X-Wing fighter? Is he like calling it that because the X-Wing? Is he a Star Wars fan?
Oh no, this is way more of that. Way more funny.
Way more Elon?
Don't tell me it's S3X.
It is S, 3, X, and Y.
I knew it.
Sexy.
Yep.
Is it really?
Yeah. But
Elon, if you ever find my podcast, come hang out in Utah, dude. We'll put you up. We'll take you snow biking and adventure biking, and we'll take you up to the shooting range and shoot some machine guns. Honestly, he's probably done everything. There's probably nothing you could
He probably does.
Yeah, he's probably has more guns than I've ever seen in my life.
he's got a secret bunker, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, then again, if you're that wealthy, you just do it, right? You meet some dude who's into it, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll get 10 years worth of ammunition and enough firearms for a small army. That's fine. Like,
oh, gosh. That's so funny.
He's a funny guy.
Dude, I love watching his stuff, to be completely honest. I really do. Like, I know some people hate him, but I think he's great.
Yeah.
Do you see he just chewed somebody out?
I love watching those videos when he chews people out.
He was on live television, and they're like, you can't swear. And he's like, okay. And then she asked him a question about a buyout or something, and he said, oh, it was because everybody, all of the major businesses
were trying to boycott him because of something. And he was, yeah, I remember that. What were they trying to do?
They were asking him, so like, do you think Twitter's going to lose a lot of money from that? And it was obviously a leading question being like, he's going to lose a lot because they're not going to advertise on his platform. He's like, cough.
Yeah. Don't threaten me with money. Yeah.
You can't threaten me with money. Cough. And the funniest part was all of the businesses that boycotted him only lost money because all of the people that they were targeting were on Twitter.
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic?
Right?
Yeah.
I've seen so many of those lately that, the Bud Light thing is another one I think of. You went through that, and I'm like, dude, this is kind of the problem with some of the brain rot you get. Brain rot sounds mean when I say it that way, but I'm like, some of these younger kids that come straight out of college and they get put in marketing positions or whatever else, I think they're just so disconnected. It's like, they think their TikTok feed is real life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, have you been to any college, any lake, anywhere? Like, who's drinking Bud Light? It's like, who do you think you sell this to?
Right.
I don't know, man, but whatever y'all did was
not the right idea.
For
no.
your target market,
Nope.
man.
Nope.
Like, just way off base.
Yeah. That was a really funny one. Like, who was in charge of that? Like, how did you possibly think that was going to work?
Really?
Like, that was the dumbest thing. Like
I know nothing about Bud Light, but if I had to guess, your target market is probably like rednecks and frat boys.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Right. Oh, dude, honest to
like
God,
a good guess to
it was
me.
such
The best guess.
that was such a horrible thing. Like, I literally went through and researched all of their brands and like, I just quit touching any of them.
So
I mean, and like,
crazy,
you're
dude.
like, you're so terrible that you got to pay for that one, unfortunately. And I don't know when I'll ever go back,
Insane.
but it's okay.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is that way.
There's so many of those where you're just so out of touch.
But again,
man.
what it is that it's like we were talking about earlier, and I think this is actually, I think I picked this up off a Jordan Peterson podcast where he's talking about that whole woke ideal. It's so easy for dumb people to follow and to get behind.
Yeah.
And that's why you get a lot of these kids who are going to college who are those 30%ers, or maybe even like, they're 100 IQs. They're just not that intelligent. So they just bite hook, line, and sinker everything these because again, the university people are totally right. Wait, we don't know what the difference between a man and a woman is? Cool. And now I'm like, okay, wait a minute. How are these people supposed to be smart? They don't know what the difference between a man and a woman is. Like, how are we listening to these people?
It's nuts.
The other part of it is the unassertive people. I think that's
Okay.
how they do it. Because the unassertive people don't want to start a fight with somebody that says that there's no gender. Right?
Well, it's valid. Honest to God, once people say that kind of stuff, I more of just want to vacate the conversation.
Right.
Like, once they open their mouth and go down that path, I'm just like, cool, we are never going to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
There's not even a point. And they all turn to it gets ugly. They don't just communicate with you
Exactly.
with facts. They just go to the attack. Well, you're a racist. Or they all throw around the fascist thing. And I'm like, I don't think you guys actually know what a fascist is. Because like, if you look it up, it's really the opposite. Like, it's you people who don't let me say man and woman, you're a fascist.
Yeah. Well, that's what's wild. I think in a lot of those conversations, it's like, it's not really worth engaging with the other person.
Yep.
Right.
There's
that
nothing.
specific
There's no. When you look at the end goal, there is no positive end goal.
No,
There's
it's
no-
like they're gonna sling at you, stuff like that. The other thing is right now, it's like if you're a person who's done anything meaningful with your life, you've done well for yourself, you run a business, you're in any prominent position. It's like you never know what's going to come off the internet or come for you these days.
Yeah.
And it's
valid.
like, in a lot of ways, people just feel like they're silenced in those conversations because it's like, should I say something? Do I agree with you? No. But is it worth like speaking up? And I talk to a lot of people that feel like the answer is no.
Yeah.
Like it's all downside. But it's kind of an issue too, right? Because if no one speaks up, then it just keeps getting perpetuated.
Yeah.
Right? Like those people come to believe that it's normal and that's the way the world is and that everybody agrees with them.
Back to idiocracy.
Yeah. But most people don't, right?
Yep.
That's at least my experience of life these days. Like,
Oh yeah, no.
Crazy.
100%. It's because everyone's become a keyboard warrior too.
That's valid.
Everyone fights most of their battles right here.
yeah. Well, what's funny is in dealing with my business the last couple of years and trying to hire and in interacting with younger clients. And then even, we talked about our BNI group a little bit. I talked to a lot of other business owners through that and just other things. A lot of them are really struggling to like bring in and maintain young talent. And one of the things, like, financial advising has a technical aspect to it. Like you have to be proficient in investment strategies and tax strategies and protection strategies and all the different stuff. But the other side is you have to be a good salesperson, right? Because you can be a freaking genius, but if no one talks to you and you can't communicate to them what you're going to do, you'll never get any business, right? You kind of have to have both sides. And what I see with a lot of the younger generation is like them straight up telling me, I don't know what to say to people. Like the reason I'm not successful in this field or in sales or whatever else, I don't know what to say to people. And that one to me is nuts because I don't really think about what I'm going to say to people. Like, we showed up to this and me and you have been talking for like a while. And then he shows up and we pop this thing on and we're just rolling. Yeah. Like, no outline, no nothing. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's, if you know, you kind of just learn to dance with other people, for lack of a better term.
That is exactly it.
Amazing
analogy.
Of that.
Yeah.
Just because it is a dance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's just not, it's not weird. It's not uncomfortable to me. You just kind of roll with the thing. And I guess this is my story, but what I think has happened with a lot of that generation, especially the ones that are coming out of college really recently, is like the onslaught of technology was already there. But then you look at what happened to those kids during COVID, and it's like they were either at the end of high school or they were at the beginning of college. And you know, Utah, in terms of the experience here, I think was a lot better than other states. Like,
sure,
we had certain things happen, but it's like, dude, we never had to stay in our house for weeks.
No, nobody was. Yeah, everybody was kind of like whatever.
The whole world was open. I could get gas. I did my stuff. But you know, there's other places. I talked to my clients that were in California or Washington State, and it's like everything was shut down. Couldn't go to school. Couldn't do this. Couldn't do that. But when I think about these kids, I'm like, you know, they were on their phones. They were on their computers. They did school on their computers. They did church on their computers. They date on their phones and on their computers, right? Like they're literally meeting people on apps, and they were having FaceTime dates or Zoom dates. That's how they communicate, right? Like there's so many young people that won't actually answer their phone.
Right. Oh, yeah, right? They get offended because you called them.
Oh, yeah. And I've had some people where I call them, go to leave a message, and their voicemail box is full, and I'll just text them, hey, let's chat. Just FYI, your voicemail's full. And then if we ever get connected, they'll say, yeah, I leave my voicemail full so people can't leave me messages, right? Like they don't even want that level of communication. Mm-hmm. And so it's like they're so disconnected from like real life and other people that they really don't know how to talk.
Yeah.
They don't know how to sell. They don't know how to even like be in a conversation and deal with the discomfort or the lull or, you know, whatever it is. They can't do it. They won't do it.
Yeah. And that's what's sad. It's the won't do it. That's for me, that's the hardest thing is like, cause that same generation is the generation that says, hey, just want you to know, these are my mental issues. These are my triggers. And then you'll say, hey, well, thanks for communicating that. What are you doing to get on top of that? Yeah. Oh, nothing. I just want you to know so you don't trigger me. So you can be more careful. It's like, whoa. Are you kidding me? Like, no, that's not how that's supposed to work. You're supposed to acknowledge anyways, but they just don't. They will not. Like I have family members that are like that, bro. And it's just like, okay, I'm not even going to I won't tease you or nothing because like you can obviously they're not going to take it. But then the thing that's good is for those of you out there who aren't that way, whose kids are still fun, the world is theirs. Dude, my son gets job offer and like it's actually frustrating for me because like, and again, his boss is awesome and he won't quit because he's really happy there, which is important. Yeah. But like he's had job offers from professional racing teams. Novak called him. Do you know who Novak is? Advanced Adapters.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're a big time. They're in all of your racing magazines and off-road magazines and everything. That's how you put an LS in everything is with Novak.
Is that Dave Novak?
Yeah. Okay. Eric Novak.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Dave's a brother or something. I
don't know why I know that name. Maybe I'm just pulling it out of my butt. Who knows?
Yeah, but no, Eric. But yeah, so they called it. Like I've just had all these people who are like, hey man, your kid looking for a job? Like I know he does all, because he's out here building cars and doing all this stuff. And like I really like where I'm at. Like, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to push you, but like
still,
but yeah, because they're all like, here's a kid who will talk to you. Like he went to, he welds and fabricates and fixes cars and
and that's one thing that has me really nervous too, is like, I think it is a good thing that the conversations around like disabilities, mental health, all of those sorts of things are becoming not so stigmatized and that people can find help. And like, even, my wife doesn't work now, but my wife previously was a special ed teacher.
Oh, wow. That's a tough line of work.
Yeah. But those are kids that need help.
Right.
Right. And I'm glad that we've gotten to a point where you don't banish them to some weird place. Right. But they get to like be in school with their peers with a much higher level of help from the school and the staff. I think that's great.
It is.
Right.
I was in peer tutor and I absolutely loved it.
Oh yeah, dude, so many great programs, right? Like my wife, both my wife and I help out with a nonprofit where Like we did an event at Utah State a couple weeks ago. We pair up with the athletics department, have them bring in all the college teams, so football, basketball, volleyball, track, like everybody. And then we bring in all the middle school and high school age sped students, and we take them up to the school. And then we just have like a field day just for fun.
Yeah.
Because those kids really, they don't get to recreate. Because, I never thought of that, but like I played a lot of sports. When you're a normal kid, you just sign up for rec sports. Like your mom signs you up. If you're a sped kid, you can't do that. Right.
That's true, huh?
I never thought of that until my wife like literally said it to me. Because it just never occurred to me. But for those kids, they love it, right? You get to go up to the college. The facilities are awesome. You get to meet the cool kids you see on TV or in the community and wherever else. And they love it, man. I love that we're doing stuff like that. And I think the mental health stuff is great too. The thing I see is missing in some of those circles is, we've taken the conversation from like awareness and exposure. And now in a lot of those same circles, it's like you've built it as a wall, right? I think the awareness and exposure was a good first step. And what seems like should happen next to me is like, okay, now you should find ways to help these people get over it or do better or put better systems in place. And what I'm seeing in a lot of those spheres, including education, which is part of the reason my wife doesn't teach anymore, is what you said. Right? That those same people will come back to you and they'll say, here's my, I have high levels of anxiety and here's my triggers. And so you can't do any of those.
Right.
Right. But the problem is
we all have anxiety.
All of us
Everybody.
do. The problem is
it's literally anxiety is your body saying, I don't know where I am and I don't know what to do. So I'm going to put you in a hyper alert state.
Yep. And we all suffer from it.
Oh, yeah. But part of the thing for a lot of us is like, we get it. It's stressful. I have anxiety. I'm stressed out, whatever it is, but it's still real life, right? If you're in a business, no matter how good your business is, no matter how altruistic the owner is, like businesses have to be profitable to exist, right? There's a certain level of performance that has to be demanded by or from everybody that works there.
Yeah.
Right. If the business can't justify paying you a certain amount of money because you don't generate a certain level of performance, you won't be employed. Like that's just how it works. And the problem when you put up a lot of those walls or expectations, in my opinion, where it's like, you can't do this to me, you can't say this to me, is as a business owner, and whether it's business or sports or whatever else it is, the performance of the team starts to shrink down. Right?
Yeah.
Because now there's certain things you can't say. There's certain things you can't do. There's certain risks you literally cannot take. And it's weird because when I think of the way I grew up and when I think of America as a country, I think we got where we are by taking risks and being entrepreneurial. And it's wild too, because you think of like the inception of this country. It's like we landed on some rock on the East Coast and we're like, oh, let's send it, man.
Yeah.
Get your wagon. We're going who knows where.
It's like,
There's a reason
that's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
They're just nuts. But now we're on the other side of it, and it's like you can't hardly get anything done or take any risk without getting yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Well, fortune does favor the bold. I mean, that's been a thing. You're right. And there seems like the system, if you will, is trying to stop that, trying to squelch it out of us.
It's nuts.
Trying to create the Matrix. Except it's tax dollars instead of batteries.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on taxes.
Dude, I know, man. He was telling me about a proposed tax that our wonderful, excellent president, you assholes, voted in, is trying to do it so that he's trying to do it. What did you call it?
So it was two-part. Right now there's long-term capital gains.
Long-term capital and unrealized capital gains.
Yeah.
That's the one that's scary. So if the economy goes up and you made $100,000 on your house, you have to pay $20,000 unrealized capital gains taxes to your wonderful president y'all elected.
Long-term capital gains is any asset you've held longer than a year, right? Right now it's at 20%. So if I hold an asset, I sell it after a year, I've made $100,000, I'd have to pay $20,000 in taxes, right? But no one likes paying taxes. But the thing with capital gains is you're only paying taxes on money you've made. I sold the asset. I have $100,000 in pocket. I don't have to take it as income, which for a lot of people is actually a win.
Yep.
Right. So I've paid 20% of the gain instead of a big chunk of money as income. The first thing he put in that bill was instead of 20%, it's going to 44.
Whew, more than double.
So if you make 100, if you make 100,000 on that stuff,
or is that for?
That's
What's that?
anything. That's any asset.
Proprietorship,
No.
or is that corporate S corp, or is it all?
all long-term capital gains.
Anybody. You sell your house and make money, Biden's taking 44% of it now.
So they'll have exemptions, and your primary residence has always been one exemption.
Okay.
That's one of the only ones. So I don't think it'll apply to that in terms of long-term capital gains, but 20 to 44% is substantial.
Oh, yeah.
That's,
Well, he's all about, look at our economy. He loves doubling what he's taking from you.
Yeah. Well, it's freaking nuts, right? So instead of losing 20,000 in that example, you're going to lose 44,000. The other thing they proposed, though, was taxation of unrealized capital gains. Right, so with long-term capital gains,
it means
now
you didn't sell it, and yet you still have to pay the taxes.
exactly.
On it. So now you have to come up with money that you don't have.
Yeah. So if I hold a non-qualified investment portfolio for one of our clients, let's say we make $100,000 in the stock market in a year, but we don't sell anything. Right now, we're not going to pay taxes on that. But if we move to unrealized capital gains, if I've shown a paper gain, meaning we haven't sold, it's just in the portfolio of $100,000, he wants 20% of unrealized gains. And it's crazy because then what are my options as an advisor, or what are my options as an investor, like just a normal person? I didn't want to sell this stuff, right? I put the money away for my kids' college or whatever, right? But now you probably got to dip back into that, because who the heck is just sitting on mounds of cash all the time just to pay taxes?
Right.
That's
Like,
true.
It's terrifying, dude. It's terrifying.
freaking crazy.
And again, people are like, oh, he's doing some forgiveness. Well, yeah, that money's coming from somewhere. He's going to take it back from the rest of us.
yeah.
Like, it's just...
And you know, I really dislike the policy. I think a lot of taxes are just like ugly.
Yeah,
They
double
don't make sense
taxation,
to
triple
me.
taxation.
The other thing, there's part of me that feels like they've introduced this bill, and I'm willing to bet money that what they're going to do is we're going to get a little bit deeper into it. They're going to start to get a lot of resistance. And then they're going to try and push it up to say like, oh, this is only going to apply to people that make more than X amount of money, right? More than 300,000 or 400,000 or whatever it is, right? And they do that all the time, right? And because then they can exclude a large part of the voter population, right? This isn't going to apply to you. This is still going to happen. But the issue I have with it is I don't see our taxes going to anything that's worth a dang.
Well, no, we don't have enough money. I mean, didn't our administration just give a bunch more money away to that we don't have to the Ukraine?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't even understand what they're doing.
We also have officially announced that we are funding a train on the moon.
Sick. You know what?
That is a thing that the
Low key,
government-
I'd get behind that over some of the other stuff we've done. Put the train on the moon, but I don't know, man. Some of the other stuff.
I don't know why we haven't been to the moon yet since the 60s, have we?
They are actually setting it up so that they can go start building the train on the moon. They
What's the
worked
train
with
for?
Northman Group.
I mean, is there people commuting?
You know, there's 2 big hubs on the moon. And you're just gonna.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, the
that's
Northman Group
freaking
was
crazy.
like, hey, I want to do this. And the U.S. was like, here you go.
Yeah. It's like I was talking to one of my buddies this morning. He's a client of mine, another Hawaiian dude. He's from Maui. And, you know, it was last year, Lahaina had that fire. Just burned that place to the ground.
Right.
Terrible tragedy. And Hawaii is a different place in a lot of ways. Lahaina is a really old port town. And so some of those families have been there 6, 7, 8, 9 generations. That's land that was like, I'm not going to say junk, but like old Hawaiian land. But now that it's in Lahaina, you know, the old shack is a $2 million house, but it's not like it ever got paid off. It's just been there, right? So a lot of those families didn't have insurance on it, right? So they don't have assets. They don't really have insurance. Their house was burned down. And now this house we've always had with no mortgage is going to cost $1 million or $1.5 million to rebuild. I saw a study that came out and they estimated that to rebuild Lahaina in its entirety would cost something between $5 and $6 billion. right? That's really expensive. I don't think it's necessarily the government's job to go around bailing people out. Like, I've never lived under that impression. But what rubs me the wrong way when we're talking about taxes is like, we keep running taxes up on people that work hard. You take the money, you don't do a dang thing for Lahaina. They're cutting $700 checks for these people. And then we're shipping hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. Right?
Yep.
Ukraine is a whole nother conversation. And, war is ugly all over. There's no winners in war. I truly believe that.
Except
but
for
it
the
makes, it makes no sense to me, though, that Maui, which is in Hawaii, which is one of the 50 states of the United States of America, can't get 2 pennies to rub together to help the people out, to help rebuild anything, to even, there's not even a conversation about like, oh, well, let's at least help get better infrastructure while this place is a pile of ash. Right? Nothing. But then you and I and everyone else that works and makes good money, they'll take your crap and they'll ship it overseas and they won't even ask you about it.
Nope.
And it's infuriating.
Yep.
Like, I just can't stand it. And that's why most of my clients, most of the people I talk to, no one's willing to pay more taxes because of that. We don't feel like the money that's collected in taxes is administered correctly.
Not even close.
No. And a lot of times, no accountability. There's organizations, we don't even know where the hell the money is going.
Nope.
No accounting, no nothing.
Yep.
It's, oh my gosh, just crazy.
And they don't have to show because they just lost another absurd amount of money again. It just keeps
Every year.
How do you lose a couple $100 billion, right? Well, the government does it all the time.
Just lost.
Man. Well, dang, on that note, that's an hour-long podcast, brother.
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that crazy how fast that goes?
Yes.
Well, you guys, we talked about a lot of stuff. Dalton, we really appreciate you joining us, giving us a little bit of insight from the financial district and sharing your story. Man, kind of lived a lot. You've had quite a bit of experiences, dude.
Yeah, it's been good.
We probably didn't even touch on them, huh?
That's all good. This has been great.
Yeah, so we'll definitely do another podcast with Dalton. We say that all the time, and most of these people you'll see again as we keep doing this and growing. And you guys definitely help us out, help us keep going. Like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. That's what keeps this going.
absolutely
Awesome. Thanks again, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Merch.
Oh yeah, nice.